Think back to the last time you faced adversity at work and think of a person or group that helped you overcome that adversity. What is unique about the adversity we're all faced with today is that we're all going through it together at the same time. I've heard from our friends at Facebook, UVA, MIT, Howard Hughes, SMU, UCSD, UPenn, Sterling Bay, University of Delaware, to just name a few, that are all going through the exact same thing. And that adversity is being forced to adopt a new remote work reality instantly. But I view this as an opportunity for all of us, an opportunity to build a highly engaged remote culture, improve our use of technology, and come together as a community of eBuilder users to support one another in that effort. So, what is remote work? Remote work is work being done by individuals who are not in the same physical space and that are leveraging technology to get things done as a team. Today, I'm going to go over how we can create a remote work action plan utilizing tools we all have access to, such as eBuilder, Slacks or Microsoft Teams, video conferencing tools like Zoom, GoToMeeting, WebEx, to get things done as a team. So let's get started. There are 4 core ingredients to building a remote action plan. Continuity, to create routine and schedule for your team. Communication, passive and active, ensuring all teams understand expectations. Productivity, delivering to our customers, creating time tracking and reporting. And most importantly, culture, sharing wins, promoting interaction now that you're out of the same office. So I'm going to dive into each of these today and how we can use eBuilder to accomplish these 4 core components. And feel free to ask questions as we go through. I'll answer at the end of each section or at the end. So the first is continuity, and that's to create a routine. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up eBuilder, and we use the calendar module to create this continuity. And if we focus here on Monday, March 16th, there's a couple meetings that we recommend you set up as your team works remotely. And the reason why we recommend using eBuilder for it, because you have schedule, you have a calendar in Outlook. But the reason why we recommend using eBuilder for it is, as you're creating this for your project-based teams, your project-based users are all going to be in eBuilder. So as a university, if you're looking to have these meetings for updates for a specific building, you have that contact list and that repository right inside eBuilder in that project. So we recommend a few meetings, a weekly executive update. We recommend a team check-in every day just to make sure everyone understands what the expectations are for them that day, or reach out for support. We recommend a daily check-in with each individual one of your team members if possible, or project managers or your manager. And so you'll see here, we've kind of have that every day scattered throughout. And that provides the guidance and support that a remote team would need. On top of that, going back to continuity, we recommend that you set and track goals. We use eBuilder's action items in order to do this. So shifting back to eBuilder, if I go to my check-in with Dan at 1 p.m. on Monday, and I go to the meeting minutes, you'll see Dan is adjusting to working well from home. He's finding added productivity with structured meetings. If I go to the team check-in, more importantly, I'm able to create a routine, just like I said, we're going over objectives for the week, but I'm also able to use eBuilder's action items. And those action items are going to help me set and track goals that I've set for each one of my team members as we go from being able to walk up to their desk to not seeing them work. And we have a great tool in eBuilder in this calendar module in order to be able to do that. And so we really recommend, in order to create continuity, have these meetings with your team members and create action items in order to do that. Next is communication. And really want to stress that passive communication is key here. And what I mean by that is, we want everyone, when you work remotely and you're not able to go up to someone's desk and ask them for information about a project, We want everyone to be able to find that information themselves. And there's a couple ways to do that. First is to set the expectation across the entire team on what the tools and communication should be. And we recommend, in order to do that, you have a great tool with eBuilder to use the login agreements. And it's kind of a creative way to use login agreements, but as everyone shifts remotely instantly now, and the work that they did yesterday, the expectations they had yesterday on how to communicate are instantly different. When they log into eBuilder for the first time working from home, you can set up a login agreement. And I'll show you how to do that real fast. So I'm going to go to Setup as an administrator. And under Settings, I have Login Agreements. And here I can go ahead and I can create an agreement. So one thing that we'll share after this is this agreement we have here that we created. And this goes through our 4 core ingredients for our remote work action plan in eBuilder: continuity, communication, productive work culture. And then we've broken it out into managers and also a backup plan. So going over continuity, we talked about focusing on your key objectives for the quarter, communicating with your supervisor regularly, plan with your supervisor and team achievements and goals. Check in with your team in the morning. Ensure that you're using chats, whether it's Microsoft Teams or Slack. Ensure you and your team's contact information is in eBuilder. We'll go over some of these, but by setting the login agreement, the first time that your team logs in today, tomorrow, or when they're remote, everyone has an understanding, an agreement, and you have a documentation of the guidelines for communicating, which will make your communications much more effective as you move to remote. The second thing is your contact information. So once again, in eBuilder, on your project-based teams, you have a contact repository. And across all of our clients, I'd say that this is probably one of the most under-updated, most dated repository of information. People just don't keep it up to date. Even if you're using the contact module for commitments and cost, not every contact has their phone number and their email. eBuilder is a great project repository to ensure all of the information is correct. So one of the things that you can do in your remote work action plan is get everyone to update their contact information in eBuilder. So switching back into eBuilder, what that looks like is I'll just go to contacts, and you'll see I've got emails that are not included. I've got phone numbers that are not included. So I'll just go ahead and hold everyone accountable on my team to update the contact information they have. It takes 5 minutes to update, and that way we can ensure everyone has the correct contact information when we work remotely. And third, and I think the most important, is to document your meetings. And this is where the passive communication comes. You want people to be able to get information on projects passively, now that they can't simply walk up to someone and ask. And the meeting minute module is a great way to do that in eBuilder, to ensure that everyone who has access to the same project can find the information they need. So I'm gonna go to calendar, and I'm just gonna go to my team meeting at 11:30 on Monday. And you'll notice here, I've got my objectives and key results. We're finalizing an Oracle integration. Requirement document is due by Friday. I would create a task here, an action item. Update my PCO process rules by Thursday, another opportunity for an action item. Prepare for remote work. Then I have my individual updates. Dan, on track to update PCO process rules. So if I'm a manager, or if I'm not directly able to make this meeting, I'm able to go right into this meeting and I'm able to see all of the communication that happened. And that is a big change when you go from an office where you're able to walk into every meeting or ask the project manager right across from you what happened in the meeting. You might not have that opportunity. So being able to report passively on those communications is a critical part of creating a work action plan. And then lastly, set up group chats like Slack or Microsoft Teams. So something that we've offered to most people that are actually on this call is we set up a Slack channel for you guys. You guys can create your own private channels for you and your team to talk with. You can use the channels that we've set up already as examples, but it really makes it easy for you to reach out to anyone else in your company and ask questions. And I think what we found as being a remote organization for the last 5 years is that we're much more in touch, much more often, because we have Slack and we use it regularly, as opposed to going up to people in the middle. So it's a really great tool. And when you talk about opportunities that are arising from these unfortunate circumstances, learning how to use these tools and becoming dependent on these tools, addicted to these tools, is one of those opportunities. I think you'll find that it's a very good way to communicate passively as a team and get information on projects. I don't see any questions on communication, so I'm going to move to productivity. So here's where I'm going to show you some things in eBuilder that are a little less adopted, that you'll get a lot of value out of as you move to be a remote team. And the first one is, in order to continue to produce as you move from an office to a remote workforce, track and report on time. eBuilder has a very simple but excellent time tracking module, and I want to show you how you can utilize that. So I'm going to jump back to eBuilder, and I'm going to go to the time tracking tab, which, because I'm zoomed in here, is going to be second to last. This takes me to my employees' timesheets. As a manager, I'm looking at all of my employees' time for this week that they've submitted. But I want to go ahead and I want to submit my time and show you how that works. So I'm going to go to your timesheets, and I'm going to click Add Time. First, I'm going to select what project. Now, this is actually not required. The way that we've set this up is we require a project in an activity, but you don't even have to go that far. You could simply just put in your time for the day, for the week. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select my project, and then I'm going to select my activity. If you have costs set up on this project, you would be able to select a budget line that each of these activities goes to. And even further, if you had a commitment against that budget line, you'd be able to attach this time to a commitment and create an invoice. In the example I'm showing you today, I'm simply entering in my time as from an administrative standpoint. And that means I'm only going to be doing non-billable time. And you can see non-billable time does not have a cost code. So I'm going to do my webinar presentation. And I spent 2 hours yesterday, and I'm going to add a note saying preparing. I spent 5 hours yesterday getting nervous for the presentation. And then today I've spent 1.5 hours on this webinar. The rest of the time I could put towards other projects or activities, billable projects even, if I wanted to say I did some confirmation services for surveying. If I had a commitment against that, I could do it. And I can just simply put in my time here to round that out. And I'm going to go ahead and say the rest of the week I'm taking off, spring break. So I'm going to go ahead and just put time off here. So now I have a 37.5 hour worksheet. I might want to see here that I got another 1.5 hours, so I can round it off to 40, just because that's what my boss likes to see. So I have a 40-hour worksheet. I can attach any documentation to show that, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. This is actually now a workflow. So this has now been submitted to my manager, and my manager can now approve. He or she can now approve my timesheet or ask me any questions. And this could be something great that you can work on, from your meeting minutes and your one-to-one. So if I go to my calendar now, and I go to my team check-in with Dan, or my check-in with Dan here, or let's go to team check-in, sorry. I actually have my links to my time tracking module report. So with my meeting with my team, I can actually pull up this meeting and I can view the time that was entered by everyone on my team. So here's the time I just entered. Now there's a couple different ways that we can also report on this. I built another report where I want to do the time by week. So here's a different view, each day by each person on my team, how much time they've entered. So this is a great way as your team shifts to work remotely to be able to view how much time your team is working, what they're working on, and that helps you support your team better. And this is a great tool that's in eBuilder that not a lot of companies are using yet, but I think this is a great opportunity to leverage this technology. So a few questions that were asked as I went through that. Someone asked, how complex does the timesheet process need to be? Does it require signatures? Can I do that with an eBuilder? So yeah, let me show you to build a workflow. I guess I missed that part, so thank you for asking. If I go back to my time tracking module, as the manager, these are my employees' timesheets. So I want to go ahead and open up Josh's timesheet. And it works very similar to the way that eBuilder's workflow module works, where you actually have a workflow. So my current actor is me, and I can go ahead and take the action of approving or rejecting it. All of this is configurable. You can develop a very robust time tracking. If it's over a certain amount of hours, you can have conditionals, and you build this in a very similar way that you build eBuilder's current workflows. So it's very robust to answer your question. And I have my history here to show who was started by and that it's in progress. And I can hit show workflow, and you can see the workflow we have here. Just as an example, it generates an invoice, attaches to the commitment. If it's non-billable, it skips that step. Good question. So the second thing from productivity, now that we can track people's time and we can report on people's time, is continuing education. And this is another great opportunity as our teams are no longer in the office to set up meetings, recurring meetings that we can, to continually educate your team on leveraging technology, improving technology. And we've done a bunch of these lunch and learns in the past with our clients. For 3 months, we did, for example, we have UPenn on. We did a 3-month series of lunch and learns for their team, and it went over really well. Got a lot of adoption. A lot of people showed up. But now that everyone's kind of sitting at home during lunch, great way for you to engage your team, get them to all jump on a video call and present to them several topics. So 2 topics that are really that you can take an opportunity to show today that would be very effective that I want to show are report subscriptions and building dashboards. So as your team is at home, how do we continue, the key is passive communication. How do we continue to present information and have people be able to pull them up themselves while they're not in the office? While they can't walk up to you as an administrator or walk up to you and say, hey, where's this report? We can actually subscribe leadership, subscribe project teams to reports in eBuilder. And this could be a great continuing education that you could show your team on these scheduled lunch and learns. So in eBuilder, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my setup. And any user, not only an admin, can do this. Go to setup, and you're going to go to subscriptions and then reports. So here's a view of all of my current subscriptions. And I'm going to go ahead and add a scheduled report. So there's that time tracking report that shows everyone on their team and how much they billed. I want to send that to my boss every Sunday night, so that he or she in the morning, when they wake up, will have it in their inbox and see how much time people spent last week working. So I'm going to go to that report that I created, which is my time tracking by week. I like doing the HTML reports here because they actually include links to be able to click and to open them. It comes across really nicely in the email as well, not as an attachment. And I'm going to go ahead and select the project I'm reporting on. And I want to do it weekly. We said we're going to do it Sunday. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. I want this to be only on Sundays. And I don't want to wake them up. So I'm going to do 5 a.m. Sunday. Sorry, 8 a.m. Sunday. So they get it when they come into the office. Let's actually change that to Monday. And we'll change our first day to be Monday. We don't need it before then because we have to get the information in. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Now I'm going to go ahead and type in my boss's name. Usually I encourage you to not send empty reports. What's the value in that? But in this case, I think it's important with time tracking. If no one entered in their time, then you want to be able to know that. So I'm going to go ahead and select, leave unselected, do not send empty reports. Anyone you subscribe to has the ability of unsubscribing. So if they don't want this report, that's fine. They can unsubscribe to it. But for now, I'm going to send this, and that's it. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So this is a very powerful feature in eBuilder that you can continually educate your team on, as an example, during a continuing education session while your team is remotely. Once again, take this time as an opportunity to train your team on how to use and leverage technology. You haven't always had the time. You always haven't had the time to get everyone together in one place. Now that all these meetings are kind of dispersed, this is a great opportunity to do it. The second thing I want to show you is how to create a dashboard. So I've gone and created the framework of a dashboard for time, and I'm going to go ahead and click here to configure the dashboard. By doing that, I now have a blank canvas, and I'm going to go ahead and add 2 dashboard items. And I'm going to do this as a time tracking dashboard. So I'm going to click Add Dashboard Item. And now I'm going to select my report. So the first report I'm going to do is I want to show the time by week per person in a graphical way. That report was kind of hard to consume, had a lot of information on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do a chart. I'm going to give it a header of time by week, by person. I'm going to select my project, and I'm going to do a vertical bar stacked. See how that looks. And it's going to be by day, so it's row label ascending. So that's right by default. So here we go. Now I have a great visual to see, because it's stacked, how many hours a week my team's working. And then by color, how much he or she has worked. So I can see that Dan Edge is an overachiever, and he worked last week while everyone else was on spring break. And this is in real time too, which is great. So as people submit their timesheets, you can see this graphic over time. The next one I'm going to go ahead and add is a pie chart. I just want to see by project how much time people have added. So I'm going to go ahead and do time by project. I'm going to give this a header of time by project. I'm going to select a pie chart, and I'm going to hit save just to see what it looks like. All right, so there we go. By project, I can see how much time I've tracked. So once again, your team may or may not be knowledgeable on how to create their own dashboards. As they seek more information from projects to be passive, because they don't have an opportunity of just walking to someone, this is a great opportunity to teach them how to create their own dashboards and report on information that they care about. And once again, I think this is a good lunch and learn topic, how to build dashboards, and one I would recommend that you guys use as part of your remote work plan, setting up continuing education in order to teach your team how to leverage technology and view this as an opportunity, not as an inconvenience. And then lastly, when it comes to productivity, I know a lot of you guys are critical spaces, critical operations. We have some hospitals on this webinar. One thing we want to always have is a backup plan. So, always make sure to communicate what people to do if the technology fails. I was on a call with a client in the Bay Area yesterday on the web call, and so many people in California right now are using bandwidth that the call crashed, the web call didn't work. So we had to make something happen. She was able to switch over to a data plan and connect back to it, but she had that guidance from her company on what to do if the internet crashed. So have a good backup plan. In this user agreement that I'm going to send out, we have some advice on here on what your backup plan should be. Always have an alternative for the tools you're recommending. So a couple of questions here I have on productivity. Any ideas of other valuable reports we can use? So once again, it all kind of comes back to with the focus being shifting from the office to remote work, user adoption for the admins in the room to see, are my teams actually utilizing eBuilder right now? So a great report would be a user adoption report or dashboard. We happen to have one here. So this would be a great report as an example, just to make sure that your team is logging in and using the tools. Also, schedules are going to change, schedule reports. So, there's a lot of different reports we can go to, and, we're happy to answer any questions. Go to the Slack channel that you've been added to and reach out to me directly or through any of the channels for ideas from the rest of the community here. All right, so the last and what I feel are the most important part of creating the work action plan is a culture. So moving to completely remote, you would think that you're now not going to have any interactions with your team members. You're not going to see them anymore. This is a really big opportunity to create a highly engaged remote culture. And the way to do that, the way our company has been able to do that over the last 5 years, is to celebrate wins. And we do that on Slack channels. We do that on our weekly team calls, where we call out people that have closed the most action items. We celebrate project milestones. We encourage people to give thank yous to each other on our weekly calls, and we track who has the most thank yous. We call them Bravocados, and we give an award to whoever won the most Bravocados each month. So by celebrating wins, you're going to be creating a remote culture that will keep your team engaged and working throughout no longer being in the office. Connect with your team daily. So, whether that's through Slack, whether that's through a Zoom call, encourage your team to use your video conferencing tools. Turn the video on. That makes sure people are up and focused and interacting with each other. And then the third thing we like to say is we have a weekly happy hour call on Friday at the end of the day. Everyone calls in on their video. We go around the room and ask about our week. We give out the Bravocados that I talked about before. And it's our favorite meeting of the week. Everyone's highly engaged, looking forward to it. People are thinking about who they're going to give these awards to. And it ends up creating a really great remote culture when eventually we're all back together again and working from the same place. So, once again, create a great eBuilder remote work action plan. You can do that with the four pillars that we talked about: continuity, communication, productivity, and culture. And view this right now as an opportunity to leverage technology, as an opportunity to create a highly engaged remote team and to create a stronger culture.